Southern Oregon is the best place to retire in Oregon, and probably the best place to retire on the entire West Coast. And I know that's a big claim, and that's probably going to offend a bunch of the snowbirds down in Arizona. They're going to get super offended, but they're wrong. And I'm going to tell you exactly why that is. But here's the deal. This video is about the best time to retire in Southern Oregon, okay? It's not a showdown of Southern Oregon versus the rest of the West Coast, but I will spend a minute explaining why this is the best retirement destination on the West Coast, because that is a big claim, and I'm not one to make big claims without backing them up. But first, I'm going to tell you all that information that you came here to learn in the first place, okay? You want to know what are the best towns in Southern Oregon to retire to. You want to know what makes them the best towns, and you want to know what they look like. You want to know if they're a good fit for you. So why don't we just go ahead and cut to the chase, and I'm going to give you those answers that you came here to get. So what are the best towns in Southern Oregon to retire? Well, honestly, I could probably make a case for almost every town in Southern Oregon, but I'm going to give you just the top 5 that really stood out to me, okay? And I hate to say it, but the hometown that I live in, Rogue River, it pains me to say it, is not even on this list, okay? So we're going to call that a runner-up at number 6, but let's go ahead and explore the top 5, and I'm going to show you what they look like. I'm going to tell you what makes them so amazing, and give you a little tour of Southern Oregon. First up on the list is Jacksonville, Oregon. Jacksonville is located about 5 miles west of Medford, and it's where Southern Oregon really started, okay? It was founded back in 1850. It has this very beautiful historic downtown area. It's very festive, and they decorate it during the holidays. It's really a beautiful town. Lots of gorgeous vineyards all around it, like Danson and Hummingbird Estates. They're both absolutely stunning with great views of the valley all around. And from the West Hills, like Old Stage Road, that area just outside of Jacksonville, you get some phenomenal views of the entire Rogue Valley with Mount McLaughlin in the distance and Roxy Ann and all the different mountain ranges, Table Rocks. You can see all of those, and it's just a very, very pretty spot, and probably the prettiest town in Southern Oregon, and that's definitely one of the main reasons that it's on this list. And we'll talk more about Jacksonville here in a second. Sorry, I get all excited and worked up talking about Southern Oregon, and I forgot to even introduce myself. So I'm Brian Simmons. I'm a licensed real estate agent with eXp Realty, and I would love to help you learn, buy, or list real estate here in Southern Oregon. So if there's anything I can do, don't hesitate to reach out, call me or text me at 541-954-7758, or you can shoot me an email, and you can find my email address down in the description of this video. Now that we got that out of the way, let's move on to the second one, which is Eagle Point, Oregon. Located about 10 miles north of Medford is Eagle Point, and it is a nice little community out there that has a little bit more of a rural feeling. There's a lot more farms out there. It's got rolling hills and creeks like the Little Butte Creek that run right through the town that make this just really nice environment. It's a very cool place, okay? There's Butte Creek Mill out there, which was built in the 1870s and it's on the National Register of Historic Places, and it actually burnt down in 2015 and was restored in 2020. It has a really cool country store out there. It's definitely worth checking out. But Eagle Point just has its whole own feel, and it's very much more of that country kind of farm community type of a feel. It's very, very cool. It's closer to the Rogue River, and it's also really well known for the Eagle Point golf community, which we will definitely talk more about here in a few minutes. Next up on the list is Medford, Oregon, which is right at the heart of the Rogue Valley, and Medford is the largest city in all of Southern Oregon. And being the largest city, of course, it's going to have the most diversity in terms of, you know, the types of neighborhoods that are out there, from lower priced affordable homes to the ultra fancy high-end estates, okay? A lot of parks in Medford, a lot of greenery throughout the city, and all sorts of stuff. Lots of restaurants, lots of shopping. It's where the medical is, where the big hospital is, and actually 2 hospitals. All the specialists are in Medford for the most part, over in the East Medford area. And so, and it also has a downtown area that's been up and coming. So a lot going on in Medford that just kind of make it, you know, really the hub of Southern Oregon. And so obviously location-wise, it's going to be one of the best there is, because everything kind of goes through Medford. And then we go to Ashland, Oregon, which is located about 13 miles south of downtown Medford. And Ashland has a downtown area that is absolutely thriving. Okay, we call it the Plaza, and it is amazing. There's incredible restaurants and shops and art galleries and parks like Lithia Park right there, all in the downtown area, that just create a really unique atmosphere there in downtown Ashland. Okay, and it's known as a city for its hills and its beautiful trees, and especially in the fall season, the colors of the trees are just gorgeous. Okay, so you definitely want to take a walk through Lithia Park in the fall if you can. It's absolutely stunning. I don't want to give it all away on Ashland right now, so we're going to come back to what makes Ashland one of the best towns to retire to in Southern Oregon in just a minute. First, we have to get to Central Point, which is the 5th one on our list. And again, these are in no particular order, but Central Point is the 5th city, and it's located just a few miles northwest of Medford. And the location is fantastic, very central, hence the name. Easy to get pretty much anywhere. It's close to the freeway. It's close to Highway 99. It's very, very simple to get really anywhere you want to go from Central Point. Okay, lots of new development has been going on there. The downtown area has undergone a lot of facelifting lately, and it's really a pretty town. When you drive through, it has that kind of updated look, and the downtown feels like it's kind of a higher end community. And so kudos to Central Point for doing a lot of that over the last decade or so, and really making their city a step above many of the others in the area. So those are the 5 best towns to retire to in Southern Oregon, but what actually makes them the best towns to retire to? Okay, why don't we take a closer look at each one individually, starting with Jacksonville. So Jacksonville is, like I said previously, one of the higher end communities of Southern Oregon. It's probably the highest end along with Ashland, okay? And with that comes a lot of just beautiful homes and higher end communities and all those sorts of things, okay? It's a very walkable town, and there's a lot of things to do. Like I mentioned, it's very festive. So in the Christmas time or Halloween, there's always all these different decorations and stuff going on, and you can do fun things like a haunted trolley ride through town where they take you through the historic buildings and show you which ones are, haunted or whatever. It's really a lot of fun and a great experience for people who are coming in from out of town, family or friends or whatever. But a lot of fun restaurants, good shops, and all those sorts of things around the downtown area. Many, opportunities for walking and hiking and biking if you want to, stay active. There's a lot of those types of things there. And like I mentioned previously, it's a place where friends and family from out of the area will have a really, really good time coming to visit you in Jacksonville. Okay, there's always something to do. Like I said, from the trolley rides to visiting some of the local vineyards like Danson or Hummingbird or Relic or any of the others that are right there, around the Jacksonville area. But there's so many great things. The Brit Festival, especially, from if you have family or friends coming in the summertime, the Brit Festival has incredible outdoor concerts that anybody would have a good time at. So it's really, really cool for that. And that's in addition to all the hiking and the museums and all the other great things to do for sightseeing for people coming into town. Now let's dive into Eagle Point a little bit. Okay, so Eagle Point is one of the areas that's probably going to be a little bit of a lower price point than the other areas on this list. Okay, it's probably right at the median price points for all of Southern Oregon. Maybe it's slightly above the median, but it is a really, a little bit more of affordable community. And it's going to depend though, because there's going to be a lot of opportunities in Eagle Point for places that have a little bit more land. All right, so if you were to take if you were looking for a place that was on a half an acre or a full acre or something like that, you're going to have more opportunity around the Eagle Point area than you would, let's say, in Medford or maybe even in Ashland. Depending on your price point. Eagle Point's also a little bit further out of town, all right? So you're talking about probably 25 minutes to get to the hospital and the different medical specialists that all reside over in the East Medford area. But Eagle Point, although it's further away from those things, it does have, plenty of shopping. It has grocery stores. It has a super Walmart that has everything you can imagine out there within Eagle Point itself. There's also some good restaurants and banks and doctor's offices and those sorts of things. So really is a self-contained community, but about 20-25 minutes to get to the hospital and those sorts of things if that's something you wanted to be closer to. I mentioned the country feel out there, and it's definitely something that is worth noting about Eagle Point, is that you're going to get that country vibe. You're going to be surrounded by green pastures and farms and those sorts of things as you drive out there, or if you drive around Eagle Point. A lot of that going on, and of course the Eagle Point golf course has a lot of the greenery out there. So if you're a golfer, there's really fewer parts of Southern Oregon that are as good as Eagle Point for that specifically. Okay, if you want a home on the golf course, the homes on the Eagle Point golf course are stunning. Okay, there's beautiful homes with beautiful views of the golf course and the mountains around it and all sorts of great stuff. And the golf course out there has a really beautiful grill. They have a hotel for friends and family that are coming in from out of town. And it's a really good community for walking. There's walking paths all around the exterior of the golf course and nice big sidewalks, in a lot of the communities. One of the other things that Eagle Point is home to is the Eagle Point National Cemetery, which is an absolutely stunning, beautiful, well-manicured final resting place for members of the armed forces. And it's something that's really, treasured by the Eagle Point community, and they feel very fortunate to have that there. And it's, something that just sets it apart again as a really amazing patriotic community that has just a different feel, the different small town country feel than some of the other places on this list. Medford, Oregon is the next one, and let's dive into Medford a little bit. So Medford is the biggest city on this list, like I mentioned previously, and because of that, it has the widest range of pretty much everything. Okay, widest range of price points across town, widest range of types of communities, from older original Medford to brand new developments. Okay, so huge range of those types of things, big range of things to do. Okay, there's the hiking and biking and golfing at the Rogue Valley Country Club, or you can hike Roxanne Peak. You can shop downtown, you can go to performances at the Criterion Theater. There's all sorts of different things. Medford also has a really good senior care facility, variety of those types of facilities, from the springs at Veranda Park, the springs at Anna Maria, and I could go on. There's many others, Bonaventure and several others that are really nice facilities that are newer and all those sorts of things. So again, Medford just kind of has it all, right? So it's hard to go wrong with Medford, because you could look for, the higher end community, and there's some great options there. You could look for something more affordable. You could look for an older home that you want to restore. And Medford just kind of has it all in terms of that. So great option for many types of people in Medford. Next up is Ashland. Okay, and so Ashland is going to be at the top of the price point, along with Jacksonville, compared to the rest of the cities on this list. Okay, and that's for a good reason, because Ashland has a lot of really incredible homes. As you go up the hill in Ashland, there's some really just stunning places with beautiful views, and just really a lot of great options up there. So when it comes to what Ashland is known for, though, and what the community has to offer, it's known for really the culture, right? For the art scene, and there's really nowhere else in Southern Oregon that's going to compare if those are the things that are important to you. So for example, you have the Oregon Shakespeare Festival, and you have the Ashland Independent Film Festival. There's all sorts of concerts and performances and art galleries and all sorts of stuff. So if you're interested in that type of stuff, the arts, Ashland is just second to none. There's nowhere else in Southern Oregon that's going to even come close to what Ashland has to offer in all of that side of things. In addition to the outdoor activities that you have around Ashland, with Lithia Park right there, and the Japanese garden that they have there that's unreal. Lots of hiking trails. There's Mount Ashland for skiing and snowboarding. There's Immigrant Lake for fishing and kayaking and paddleboarding, and there's just so many things to do around Ashland. It's crazy. On top of that, it's a college town, okay? And so being home to Southern Oregon University offers all sorts of different things, like just a good mix of people, right? You have the young people, the students that are there. You also have a lot of retirees. You have a lot of really wealthy professionals. And so it's a community that just has a big mix of different types of people. And that's one of the things that, the Ashland residents really, pride themselves on, is having this very diverse mix and a really diverse community. And Ashland's a city that really cares deeply about the environment and about sustainability. And so if those are things that are important to you, just like the arts, there's really nowhere else in Southern Oregon that puts as much of an emphasis on those things compared to Ashland. Okay, it really is, head and shoulders above everywhere else when it comes to those things. And again, it's a place that your family and friends will love to come visit you at. Okay, there's so many things to do in Ashland, depending on who you have, coming to visit you. If it's the grandkids, there's the Science Works Museum, or they're skiing at Mount Ashland, or taking them to a play at the Oregon Shakespeare Festival. Or you can wine and dine your friends that come into town at some of the various vineyards, Bellafiore, Irving and Roberts. So there's some really spectacular vineyards all around, in addition to all the really incredible restaurants downtown at the plaza. So again, a place that you enjoying bringing your family and friends to. They'll enjoy coming to visit you here And so Ashland, again, is just one of the places that has so much to offer to so many different types of people. And the last one on our list, again, is Central Point, okay? And Central Point is great because it is probably the most balanced of all of the cities that we talked about, okay? It's slightly above average in terms of the price, but it's a really a well-kept town, a nice clean town. It does have kind of part of that country feel like Eagle Point has. Parts of it, you know, have more of that than others, but it also has parts that have that high-end neighborhood feel, like kind of the Twin Creeks neighborhood and Central Point East. Really pretty homes in there that are on parks, and you know, a lot of nice homes and newer developments and stuff going on around there. But you could also go, you know, another mile away from those, and you could be out in the farms, and you can have, you know, some really pretty properties out there. So it's kind of like the best of both worlds. You get all of that, but you're also closer to Medford, and it's a very walkable town, and it has the feel of being kind of more of like a higher end community in a sense. So really a lot going on there in Central Point, and I think it's definitely, you know, one of the reasons why it is high on this list. It also has some really good senior care facilities, like I mentioned, similar to Medford. Central Point has the Twin Creeks retirement community and the Pear Valley senior living community, both of which are, you know, nice, newer, big facilities that have gotten really good reviews from what I've seen. Another thing that you're going to want to know about Central Point is that it's very close to the Jackson County Expo. In fact, the Expo is in Central Point, just right on the other side of the freeway from the downtown Central Point area. But the Jackson County Expo has tons of things to do. So again, if you have people coming in from out of town, this is something you're going to want to look at. And one of the benefits of being at Central Point is it's all just so close. But you have, you know, car shows and rodeos all going on at the Jackson County Expo, concerts, home shows, the outdoor show, the county fair, there's monster trucks, there's all sorts of stuff that goes on there at the Jackson County Expo. And so that's something to be aware of if you like to go do those types of things and get out of the house and go see what's, you know, going on out there. Being in Central Point would be a big benefit because it's just so close to all that. So those are the best towns to retire to in Southern Oregon, but are these towns a good fit for you, or which one would be the best fit for you? Okay, and that really depends on you, right? It depends on what it is that you enjoy doing or you want to enjoy doing during your retirement. So if you're a golfer, for example, you're really going to want to look probably at Eagle Point and the Eagle Point golf community and Medford. Those are probably the two best bets if you're interested in golfing, which a lot of retirees do, right? So Medford has the Rogue Valley Country Club, which has some beautiful homes that are all on the golf course where you could hop in your golf cart and go drive to the course, similar to Eagle Point. But Medford also has Centennial, which is my favorite golf course in Southern Oregon. It's a beautiful golf course, very nicely kept, big wide fairways for people like me who need those, but a lot of fun, really a beautiful golf course. And that's one of the reasons why I would say Medford might get the nod on Eagle Point a little bit, because you just have a little bit more variety in terms of golf. But if you're looking solely for the golf community where you can have your house on the golf course, I'm going to give the edge to Eagle Point in the Eagle Point golf community for that. What about outdoor recreation? If you're interested in hiking and hunting and fishing and skiing and biking and all those things outdoors, which is what Southern Oregon is known so well for, which city is going to be the best for you in that regard? Well, pretty much all of them, honestly, because there's really, it's hard to say one's any better than the other, because it's going to depend on what it is specifically that you want to do, right? If you like fishing in the river, Eagle Point is going to be the closest to the Upper Rogue, where you're going to probably want to target your fishing, or maybe even going towards Grants Pass. That could be worth doing. Or Rogue River, which was the runner-up on our list, is another one that would be worth looking at if you were interested in fishing. But if it's hiking, there's other options. If it's hunting, there's other options. And so it really just depends specifically on what it is that you're really interested in. So happy to have that conversation with you if you like, so don't hesitate to reach out and I can make more suggestions based on your specific interests in that regard. I know a lot of retirees also are very interested in gardening, and so if that's something that is your hobby, then you're definitely going to want to look into Central Point and Eagle Point as two of the best towns for those types of activities. And the reason being is because there's a lot more properties there that are more suitable to gardening. Okay, so in contrast, if you were to look at Ashland, Ashland tends to be more hilly and probably less, opportunity there to get an actual real garden. I'm sure you could put a garden in, but you would probably be doing some sort of a terraced thing, and not like Central Point or Eagle Point where you can have, you know, a full-on acre that you would have some really good access to being able to garden. On the other side of the coin, if your interests were arts and culture, then Ashland and Jacksonville are definitely going to be your best bets there because of the things I mentioned previously. The Brit Festival in Jacksonville, the art galleries in both of those towns are amazing. The Oregon Shakespeare Festival in Ashland, the Southern Oregon University in Ashland, and just being a college town brings all that culture. So if that's your thing, then Ashland and Jacksonville are definitely going to be the ones that you're going to want to take a look at. What about if you're a socialite though? If that's your thing, then you want to take a look at Medford. Okay, Medford definitely has the most going on. You have the Rogue Valley Country Club, and you can become a member there, and there's all sorts of different social events that go on there. So if socializing is your big thing, I would definitely suggest Medford. There's a lot of different types of clubs you can join and different ways that you can participate within the community. So I would certainly suggest Medford would be a big one that I would want to take a look at if I were you, if you're interested in all the social aspects. On the other hand, if you're looking for something on the opposite end of the spectrum and you're just wanting to have a real calm and quiet retirement and sit on the front porch in your rocking chair and sip your coffee and just have peace and quiet and listen to the birds chirp, if that's your thing, then I'm going to say Eagle Point and maybe even that runner-up on our list, Rogue River, are probably going to be your best bets there. They're both further away from the freeway, especially Eagle Point, and Rogue River is right on the freeway, the town itself, but most of the housing is actually back off of the other side of the town to where you're not hearing the freeway. So I really talk about, you know, those as good options for you if you wanted to just have that kind of more laid back country feel where you can sit on that front porch and sip your coffee or a glass of wine or whatever and just hang out. You're going to really enjoy both of those two options. Or if you have grandkids that are coming into town a lot that are going to come visit you guys, then, you know, Central Point, Ashland, Jacksonville, all those are going to have great options for entertaining the grandkids and going out and doing a lot of fun things without having to really drive a long distance. Okay, so Central Point again has the expo. Ashland has so many things going on, and Jacksonville as well has hiking trails and museums and all sorts of really fun stuff that would certainly be entertaining for, you know, grandkids and big kids of all ages. So now that we talked about the best towns to retire in Southern Oregon, I want to revisit that big claim that I made in the very beginning. Do you remember that? I said that Southern Oregon is the best retirement destination on the West Coast, and I need to tell you why that is now. It's time to back it up, okay? And the reason being is all of the other folks that are in Arizona and Nevada and Idaho who love their retirement towns and they think that they have the best retirement town on the West Coast, I got some news for you. You don't even live on the West Coast, okay? Because the West Coast is actually California, Oregon, and Washington, okay? Arizona, Nevada, and Idaho do not have a coast. So if you don't have a coast, how can you be part of the West Coast, right? So it's a non-starter, all right? So what we have is California, Oregon, and Washington as the West Coast. And if you look at those states, you see California, which has had over 800,000 people leave the state in the year of 2022, which is the most recent census data we have. And Washington had over 250,000 people leave the state in 2022. And of course, all states have people moving in and people moving out, but those numbers are pretty staggering. And when you compare them to the numbers of Southern Oregon, you can see in Jackson and Josephine counties, we have a net migration number that's actually positive. So we have more people moving into the area down here than we do moving out of the area. And the projections are for that to continue to happen, okay, for a long time into the future. But why? That's actually pretty simple. The first reason is that the cost of living is one of the lowest on the West Coast, okay? And when you look at Southern Oregon's cost of living, if you look at Medford or Grants Pass and you compare it to the national average, it'll show that it's actually above the national average because the national average includes places like Missouri and West Virginia and Arkansas that are very inexpensive. But when you look at other parts of the West Coast, if you look at Los Angeles or San Francisco or Sacramento or Portland or Eugene or Bend, Oregon or Seattle, any of those, Medford and Grants Pass, Southern Oregon is far cheaper for cost of living than any of those other areas that I can see on the West Coast. And I'm sure there's probably some town somewhere that has a lower cost of living than the area here, but it's not going to be as well balanced as what you have here in the other areas I wanted to talk about, which is the second one, which is the medical, okay? The medical care in Southern Oregon is spectacular, all right? Asante Health Systems is a top 15 health system in the entire country, and it has been for the last 10 years. So that's something that's really unique to this area. to have the balance of all of these things, including the climate, okay? We have over 200 days of sunshine a year, and a fraction of the annual rainfall that you're going to see in places like Portland, Eugene, Seattle, and the traditional, Pacific Northwest that everybody thinks about when they think of Oregon and Washington. But that's the thing. Southern Oregon doesn't have that type of climate. We don't have the Portland and Seattle type of a rainforest. We're much more like, Northern California, like a Sacramento type of a climate. Much more like that than we are Portland or Seattle. And the last reason is that our location is really, really spectacular, okay? With just a quick half a day drive, you could be to so many areas, from the Oregon coast to the beautiful Cascades, to Lake Tahoe, to the Bay Area, to Portland. You could be all over the place in just a few, 3-hour drive or a 5-hour drive. You could be in any of those places, which makes it such a great location for just jumping off to any of those spots for a quick weekend trip. Or we have the Rogue Valley International Airport, which has direct flights to all sorts of different big major hubs like Salt Lake City or Seattle or San Francisco or Portland or Denver even. So all sorts of great options. It's very easy to get around from Southern Oregon, and our location is really, really spectacular. So that balance of those things is what makes this one of the premier, if not the best, place on the West Coast to retire to. Now here's the deal. All that information I gave you is great, right? But there is a huge part of Southern Oregon that nobody lives in, and it is for good reason, okay? And I would really, really hate for you to get all excited about moving to Southern Oregon and target that specific area to find a home, only to find out one of Southern Oregon's biggest secrets when it's a little too late, okay? So I suggest you click on this video right here so that you can ensure that does not happen. Again, I'm Brian Simmons with eXp Realty, and if there's anything I can do to help you learn, buy, or list real estate here in Southern Oregon, I hope you won't hesitate to reach out. Thank you for watching. I'll see you on the next video.